Hollywood has spent the last decade serving up reheated versions of stories we already know. Whether it's yet another Disney live-action remake or a franchise revival that relies on nostalgia more than innovation, it feels like we're stuck in an endless loop of reboots and sequels. But has nostalgia culture actually stifled creativity, or is there still room for originality and entertainment? Hollywood has always relied on familiar stories, starting all the way back in the beginning when Disney created animated films based on old fairy tales. But the sheer number of reboots and sequels in recent years has skyrocketed. At this year's D23 event, an event when Disney announces all of its upcoming releases, there were 16 new movies announced, and 13 of those were either sequels or remakes. This list included Freaky Friday 2, Moana 2, Zootopia 2, Avatar 3, Frozen 3, Incredibles 3, Toy Story 5, The Lion King prequel Mufasa, live-action Snow White and Lilo and Stitch, The Mandalorian spin-off, the Fantastic Four movie, and the Tron remake. So why is almost every new release not really a new release? The reason? Safe bets. Such a large and well-known brand like Disney would rather cash in on nostalgia than risk creating something original and it flopping. Take The Lion King remake from 2019. It's nearly a shot-for-shot remake of the original, but without the expressive animation that made it special. Was it made because someone had a groundbreaking new take on the story? No, it was made because people would recognize the name and pay to see it. But it's not just about studios playing it safe, it's about what we lose in the process. When reboots dominate the industry, new ideas struggle to get made, and even when these films are made, they often rely on recycled plots. The Force Awakens is basically a New Hope with different characters. Jurassic World follows the same structure as Jurassic Park. And sure, these movies are entertaining, but they didn't push storytelling forward. Instead, they relied on audiences recognizing familiar beats and characters. This even applies to TV. Stranger Things is praised for its originality, but a lot of its appeal comes from how it remixes 80s nostalgia. It begins to rely on this more heavily as the seasons continue, becoming more of an 80s-themed sitcom than the mystery that we started with. It's a great show, but it raises the question, are we watching for the story, or for the nostalgic feeling and references? Now, to be fair, not all nostalgia-driven projects are bad. Some reboots and sequels are actually innovative. Movies can take familiar characters and worlds and create something new and interesting. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse took an existing character but pushed animation into a whole new realm. Movies like this one show that you can respect nostalgia while still bringing something fresh to the table. And then there are adaptations like The Last of Us, which take existing stories but expand on them in meaningful ways. So the issue isn't necessarily nostalgia itself, it's when nostalgia becomes a substitute for creativity. But recently, audiences have been catching on. Some recent nostalgia-driven projects have flopped because people are getting tired of the same stories repackaged over and over. Meanwhile, original films like Everything Everywhere All at Once and Oppenheimer prove that audiences do want fresh ideas when they're given a chance. So where do we go from here? If Hollywood keeps prioritizing nostalgia, creativity in mainstream entertainment will keep declining. But if audiences demand originality and support new ideas, studios might take more risks. The power is ultimately in our hands. So, has nostalgia culture killed creativity? Not entirely, but it's definitely made Hollywood a little lazier. If we want more original stories, we need to support them.